Hello, Pleasant Valley students. Mr. Ramos here again, talking about our fitness standards. Today we're going to talk about the plank standards. And I already make one change in my standards. I'm going to remove the one-arm push-up. Why? Because I think it's more of a party trick than an exercise. It can be dangerous for the shoulder if not done perfectly. So I'm just going to remove it, and we're going to do our staggered push-up as our culminating exercise instead. Okay? Now, the standards for the staggered push-up are going to get really aggressive, right? Really strict. And I'm going to add another build-up movement called the shoulder tap before that. But first, we're going to start with the push plank. The reason I like push planks is because it teaches you to find the plank, right? To find the plank. And the plank, the position of the plank is this bit of a posterior pelvic tilt, or what I call the pooping dog position, right? Where your butt's tucked in and look at my belt line. My belt line is really parallel to the floor. My abs are tight, pulling the hips towards my ribs. That plank position, your glute muscles are contracted, my abs are contracted. It is important to be able to find that plank position. We find it in the bridge too, but when we're facing down, it's harder to find. So that's where we're gonna start with that push plank, where we start in this position back here, which basically we're sitting on our heels. You've seen this a million times already by now in my classes. And from there, we're gonna go forward and find that plank position. Again, what I'm gonna be looking at is that, are you not here, right? Are your hips up? Are your hips parallel, the line of your hip, parallel to the line of your ribs? And is that contraction there? The other thing I'm gonna be looking at is, are you collapsing between your shoulders, right? Or are you pushing all the way through your armpits like I've taught you, right? So a straight line basically from my knees to my head, and everything moving together. See, as my hips go back, my head goes back. And if my hips stop and my head keeps going down, then I got floppy, right? My spine move, I don't want that. As I go forward, if I stop pushing my armpits and drop my hip, I kept moving my head after my head stopped, right? Go forward, my head and my hips move together, they stop together. They don't keep moving my hips after my head stops. So once more, that's what I'm looking for. Head and hips move together. That's your knee push plank. 10 perfect reps of that. First standard. Second standard. Building on the knee push plank, we're going to do a knee push-up. And yes, knee push-ups are, sometimes people think they're cheating, whatever. I want a perfect knee push-up before I ask you to do a regular push-up. And what I'm looking for is here, for everything to move together up and down. The head and the hips go together up and down, right? We don't lead with the head on the way up. We don't lead with the hips on the way down. We don't lead with the head on the way down, right? The head doesn't go like this first. Head and the hips move together, up and down. And when you maintain that plank position, you maintain that ab contraction, that glute contraction the whole time, which is what allows you to move the head and the hip at the same time. Now, the other thing I'm looking for is what I'm always saying, that the shoulders and the arms need to agree where they're going, right? As I move my arm back, I'm expecting your shoulder to move back. As I move my arm forward, I'm expecting you to push through your armpit and for your shoulder to move forward. If this happens, my elbows pop out, my shoulders come over, that's not a good rep. So I'm gonna be looking at your hands to start next to your sternum, elbows right behind the hands, and the elbows should stay there as you go up and down. Right? The elbows are gonna stay right behind the hands, not out of the hands. Right? So that's your knee push-up. Now, the next two are basically the same thing, just without the knees. So the push plank, we're gonna lift. Just lift the knees off the ground. Starting in this back position, knees off the ground. And I'm gonna go forward, keeping the knees off the ground. But again, I'm just gonna be looking at the head and the hips moving at the same time. See, my hips go back all the way, my head goes back, they stop moving together, and I'm gonna go forward, they stop moving together. I don't drop the hip. I don't drop the head. Everything just stays together. I don't drop between my shoulder blades. I'm pushing away. That's it. That's your push plank. Your push plank without the knees, right? That's your third. Everything is 10 reps, 10 quality reps. If you can do 6 good ones, you get sloppy in the 7th, test done, we do it again tomorrow, right? Next, the regular push-up. Again, just like the knee push-up, I'm looking for everything to move together. So as I go up, I don't want to see the head go first. I want to see everything together. As I go down, I don't want to see the hips go first. I want to see everything coming down together. Ideally, your chest, your rib cage touches the floor, your hips don't. That's what I'm looking at. And again, your hands are about sternum height, the bottom of your rib cage. Your forearms are parallel to the bottom of your rib cage, perpendicular to your spine. And they always stay behind your wrist, behind your hand, not outside of your hand. Okay, that's your regular push-up. Now, here's where the changes start. We're gonna do something called a shoulder tap push-up as our red band level. And it's basically gonna take a normal set of 10 push-ups and extend it a lot, okay? Instead of making you do a bunch of push-ups, we're gonna do this. And we want 10 of these. And for this movement, we're gonna go with a wider stance in the feet. Because when we later remove a hand from the floor, we're gonna need that wider stance to make a triangle maintain stability. So your hips do not move at all. So we're gonna start from the floor, come up, tap one shoulder, tap the other shoulder. It is kind of like our bridge march, right? Down, up, tap one shoulder, tap the other shoulder. Here what I'm looking at is this. You don't drop the hip, right? As I lift, the hip doesn't drop. You don't swing over, right? You stay, everything other than this hand stays in the same place as when you have 2 hands on the ground. Just like we do the bridge march. Up, down, tap, tap. Okay? 10 of those is gonna be your red band level. Okay? No longer is the staggered push-ups red band. That's red band. Because you have to be good at those before you can get good at staggered push-ups. Because in a staggered push-up, most of your weight is on one arm. Okay? Those one arm variations also make it important, the fact that we do push-ups with arms closed, not out here. Because if we have arms out here, it's hard to make that triangle, right? When we have arms closed and legs a little bit wide, we can get that triangle, which allows us not to move our body at all. That's the reason why I don't want you to do complete one-arm push-ups, because the tendency always is to kind of move the body to put the weight on that arm, and the shoulder comes up like this, and it gets ugly. Now, the stagger push-up. I'm gonna go one arm straight out, one arm in. The elbow can have a little bit of a bend, but mostly straight. All the weight's basically gonna be here, just like when we do a lunge, a split squat, right? I tell you guys to step back with a lunge, with a reverse lunge. That's a kickstand. 90% of your weight's here, 95% of your weight's here. That's just kind of helping you balance. Same thing with the staggered push-ups. This hand is helping you balance in that bottom position, helping you control torque. But as you come up, you don't need it anymore, right? So they should look like this. I have one hand out, one hand in. I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna come up, and I can remove it. And notice, again, I'm keeping that plank, I'm not shifting side to side, nothing. Again, I go down, I come up, I remove it. Okay? As I go down, it bends a little bit more, right? As I come up, it straightens, just like the back knee on that lunge, right? Just like the back knee on that lunge. So from the front, you guys can see, I'm gonna switch hands here. My hand's out here, I go down, I come up, I remove it. Go down, come up, I remove it. The elbow stays behind the hand the whole time. I'm gonna say 10 of those on each arm. Not 5, I'm gonna move it up to 10. 10 of those on each arm is our black band standard now. No one-arm push-ups anymore. That's a better exercise. That is it for today. Have a great day. I will see you in class. You're going to have to watch this video to answer the question today. Bye.